Hey, how's it going? My name is Kate. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here. It is Thursday, August 3rd at 12:50 p.m. And today I have an interesting, albeit a bit scary challenge. In the next week, I'm going to attempt to read 2,068 pages. The way I tallied that up is I have these three books here that I will get into in a second. But those of you who have Libby know that it is a mysterious app. You'll be thinking about a book and it'll say 6 weeks away, and then all of a sudden it becomes available and you're so happy. But this time around, I placed a hold on 3 different books. All of them are very long, and one of them said it was like 6 weeks wait, another said 2 weeks wait, another said 3 weeks wait. Well, as luck would have it, all 3 books became available on the same day. And now, because I've been doing other things, I have 7 days left in my checkout to read all 3 of these. First, I have The Terror by Dan Simmons, and this Goliath is 766 pages. Next, I have The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova. This is only 676 pages. And last but not least, I have The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. And this book is 626. So altogether, these tally up to a grand total of 2,068 pages. Now listen, I'm a pretty fast reader. However, this may be a bit too ambitious, even for me. On a good day, I can read about 200 to 250 pages. And I did the math, and I would have to read 295 pages per day. This is a bad idea. But if I can even get through 1.5 of these in that time, I will be happy. The one, I think, positive to all of this, other than reading 3 amazing books, is that the typing in The Night Circus is very large and it's kind of a small book, so I feel like this one is going to be the easiest and the fastest to get through. These 2, on the other hand, they're dense and they're very floppy. I have quite a lot of errands I gotta do today. So we are going to lock into Libby while I'm out running errands, and then come back here and read some more and read some more and read some more. All right, pray for me.
Chapter 2, Franklin. Latitude 51 degrees, 29 minutes north.
Hi. It is 11:01 p.m. Oh my god. Okay, so a little update on where I am in The Terror. I'm on page 185. I'm just trying to gather myself right now. Now, I already know what happens in this book because I watched the show on AMC in 2017 or 18. I don't remember when it was out, but it was so good. I don't remember how I got the book. It just kind of showed up on my bookshelf. And so I figured I would read it. And this is so well written. I'm really enjoying it, but I have to say I'm very grateful that I have Libby to help me on the journey, because it's a long book, and I find that when I already know what's going to happen anyway, my enjoyment kind of goes down a little bit. But I just stopped at the death of a prominent character, and it affected me in the show, and it affected me reading it now, because it's just so graphic and sad, because this character was a good person. It was somebody who was strong and I don't know, it made me so uncomfortable and sad when I saw it the first time, and reading it now, I mean, it was described incredibly well. Dan Simmons did an amazing job. Because up until this point, nothing super gruesome has happened yet, and this gets very gruesome. And this scene is the first scene in which something very traumatic happens that we see firsthand. Everything before was kind of off screen or off stage, so to speak. And then this is like, oh shit, these men are in real danger. I was just sort of reading along, you know. They were just having a day on the ice. And when this one paragraph ended, my eyes widened. I'm gonna read it to you. Sir John noticed two black objects lying close together in the lowest part of the icy depression. Dark stones, perhaps? Buttons or coins left behind as remembrance of Lieutenant Gore by some seaman filing by the burial site precisely a week ago? And in the dim, shifting light of the snowstorm, the tiny black circles, all but invisible unless one knew exactly where to look, seemed to stare back at Sir John with something like sad reproach. He wondered if by some fluke of climate, two tiny openings to the sea itself had remained open during all the intervening freeze and snow, thus revealing these two tiny circles of black water against the gray ice. The black circles blinked. Ooh, like, oh. But anyway, I'm really enjoying it a lot. It's a lot. But also, on a side note, I'm convinced that male authors just can't resist talking about breasts in every single thing that they write. I haven't read one book by a man that doesn't bring up breasts and like what they look like, what the areola look like. And it could be a totally normal conversation like, oh yeah, dear, what do you want for dinner? Her areola were perky and round and colored, and like, what the fuck? What? I think of the equivalent of that as like a woman having, you know, like, where do you want to go for dinner tonight, darling? His balls were pressed against his jeans, and I could tell they were the perfect round plums. And I'm just like, what? Why? Why do you always have to talk about breasts? Anyway, I digress. I've been reading pretty much all day. I fell asleep earlier, otherwise I might have... I gotta be honest, I'm a little nervous because my throat's been bothering me all day, and both times I had COVID, it started with a sore throat like this, so I'm really hoping that I don't have it again. But I will see you in the morning, and I will see you then with another update. Good afternoon. It is the next day. It is 1:47 p.m. Somebody's moving house outside, I think, so if you hear that, sorry. But I did read another chapter of The Terror this morning, so I am currently on page 214. Still looks pretty pitiful, but like, I'm trying. Chapter 16, I would say so far, is my favorite that I've read because it incorporates a little bit of romance. And it just reminded me that I had a crush on Captain Crozier while I was watching the show. But anyway, it occurred to me that I hadn't really even told you what this book is about, so let's do that. So The Terror is actually based on true events. The central story is about the Franklin expedition that left England in 1845 with the HMS Erebus and the HMS Terror, and they wanted to find the Northwest Passage through the northern Arctic region so that England could have a faster trade route between them and Asia. And when I say everything went wrong in this expedition, that would be an understatement. I can't even imagine the hell that these men went through. I mean, they were in a region in the world in which their compasses didn't work. They were subjected to freezing temperatures, sometimes in the negatives. They weren't dressed properly. Their food was improperly stored, so a lot of it was rancid or poisoned with lead, so they were slowly poisoning themselves for 3 years. because that's how much food and rations and supplies they brought. It was for 3 years, which you would think would be enough, but unfortunately it wasn't. Depending on the season, it would be totally dark all the time, or it would be totally light all the time. For the longest time, we didn't really know what happened to them. They all 120 something men on this expedition disappeared. The ships weren't even found until 2014 or 15, I think. That's just shy of 200 years that these ships were missing. And of course, over time, things were discovered. Graves were there. They found some notes. They found photographs. Obviously, you know, what was left in the ships once they were found. There were reports of scurvy and extreme sickness and even cannibalism, or that maybe they somehow did find a port and some survived, but I from what I understand, that's the least likely scenario, because as far as I heard, no one made contact with their families in England, so they probably all died in that area. There's this huge mystery as to exactly what happened, so that's where this book comes in. Dan Simmons took this historical event and put a horror supernatural twist on it. And I don't know, this is kind of a side note, but I think that there is power in the names that you choose, and I'm just thinking, why did they choose Erebus and Terror for the names? Because Erebus is the Greek name for the god of darkness and chaos. Great name for a dangerous expedition. And then Terror, scary. I guarantee you if they named the ships, I don't know, HMS Fluffy Cat or something, this probably wouldn't have happened. I'm joking, but maybe. But there was actually a really unfortunate coincidence that happened. There's no such thing as a coincidence, right? So this happened in the northern Arctic region, and there was another disaster that happened in Antarctica, in the southern polar region. In 1979, there was this tourism company that operated through Air New Zealand, and they would fly people to Antarctica to sightsee. One plane took out a group of people to go sightseeing, and there was really bad weather, and they crashed into a mountain, and that mountain was called Mount Erebus. In Antarctica, there are 2 mountains named after these 2 ships, and I don't know, it's just a really tragic coincidence thing that happened. Rest in peace to the people who lost their lives in that. I have one thing I have to do today. My friend's coming over. My throat isn't bothering me as much today, but it still feels like a weird post-nasal drip kind of thing, so I think I'm okay. I think I can relax. And then I'm gonna probably not do another update for a while because I really just want to get through this, and maybe over halfway by the end of today, and then hopefully I could finish it tomorrow. I know it's really ambitious, but fingers crossed. Yeah, I will keep on reading and reading and reading, and hopefully I will have another update soon. So, see you then. Okay. I'm sorry, I hit the book a little too hard. I mean, thank you for being here, but I finally finished The Terror. I would have to say that I prefer the miniseries on AMC to the book, and I know that that's kind of a dumb thing to say because the miniseries wouldn't exist without the book. However, the ending in this just really kind of pissed me off, and it kind of just made me... Why? After reading this and after researching the actual event, I don't think it was necessary to have a supernatural monster element. And I know for me that is absolutely insane that I'm saying that because I love books that have monsters in them. With everything that happened on the Franklin expedition, I think the monster was kind of superfluous. Oh my god, it's so hard to talk about books without spoiling them. You could have easily taken out the supernatural element from this book and it still would have been really good. I don't deny that this is extraordinarily well written and researched. I was finding so many things while I was reading that were historically accurate, like, oh, the lemon juice kind of goes bad after a while and they didn't necessarily know that, or, you know, stuff like that. There are obviously some historical inaccuracies. The monster itself is not an actual Inuit legend or creature that exists or spirit. Dan Simmons made it up. So I don't feel bad in saying I don't think I'm being disrespectful by saying that I don't think the monster needed to be in the story. And I also don't think that the book needed to end the way that it did, because if what ends up happening with the monster at the end, it's like, okay, well then why was that even there? And why did the one surviving person have to do what they do at the end of the story? They could have easily gone off and tried to live a happy life after the absolute horrors of what takes place. This book is hard and severe and unrelenting. It's very, very dark. And I kept finding myself hoping that there would be a happy ending. I mean, the way that the show ends versus how the book ends is different in my memory, because we get a final ending for the monster in the series. We don't in the book. The show ends on a slightly happier note. I know the actual event was not happy at all, but I was just kind of hoping that, I don't know, there would be a little something more. There are two sort of intimate, spicy scenes, if you will, in the novel, and those were the 2 points that I enjoyed the most, because, like I said, this is very dark, and so those scenes kind of were like a breath of fresh air for me, because they helped me to feel kind of happy while reading this. I would say just go watch the series. You know, if me talking about this has piqued your interest at all, go on YouTube, watch the trailer. It has one of the best opening songs for a series I've ever heard. It's haunting. I think the first episode is on YouTube for free, so I would say just go and watch that, because this, you know, the audiobook itself is 28 hours to get through. The miniseries is, 10 hours? You get to see some fantastic actors, Jared Harris, Karen Hines, Tobias Menzies. You get to see this come to life in a way that I think is more rewarding and more enjoyable than the novel. And I'm so surprised that I don't really know anyone who's seen it. Thank you, Dan Simmons, for writing this. But I think I'm gonna give it a 3.5 stars, just because I'm so glad to be done with that one. Up next, we have The Historian by Elizabeth. Wow. Up next, we have The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova. This is 600 and something pages, so let's get started. Alright. Since it is, how you say, a beautiful afternoon, I thought I would bring you this update of the historian outside. I could very easily keep doing that accent, but I have a feeling that I would really annoy a lot of people, so I won't. But it is very loud outside, and hopefully I won't be visited by any wasps while I'm out here. That's kind of a thing. I am about halfway through the historian, and I would say so far I'm enjoying it. However, I am a bit confused. For those of you who don't know, the historian is about how Dracula is somehow alive and well. And this story is told through a young girl and her father, who are both historians, or I guess she becomes a historian. Spoiler, there's multiple historians. There isn't just the historian one, there's at least 5 different ones, all trying to figure out the mystery behind this book that they all find a different copy of that has, you may pass, that has a dragon in the center of it, and then lots of blank pages around it. Huge waste of paper, but I digress. So they're trying to figure out how Dracula is alive and well. But the reason I'm confused is because they mention Bela Lugosi's Dracula, the classic, 1931 version, and then they also mention Vlad the Impaler as Dracula. And I'm just curious, is it the same person? Are they trying to insinuate that Vlad the Impaler, who was a real person in the 1500s, became the Count Dracula in Bram Stoker's novel, and then he's still alive after that? I'm not really sure, because that, in my mind, doesn't really make any sense. It's kind of disjointed, because I think of Bela Lugosi's Dracula and the Dracula in Bram Stoker's novel to be one and the same, and then I think of Vlad the Impaler as somebody entirely different. So, I don't know, I'm a little confused about that. I would say otherwise it's pretty good. I'm enjoying it. I really like Kostova's writing style. As you saw yesterday, I did a quick little workout. Shut up. And then I put on some spooky, vampire-esque ambiance and just read this until midnight, basically. And I know I'm wearing the same shirt as I was wearing yesterday, but it is the next day. Today is August 7th. I did something today that I have never done, which is meal prep. I made some teriyaki salmon, some roasted rainbow carrots and beets, and salted and peppered boiled potatoes. So I'm gonna be eating good later tonight. Something kind of funny also happened yesterday that I'm not mad about. I got a package from Amazon, and I wasn't expecting one, so I opened it to see what it was, and it was a pair of workout shorts, and I was like, what? What? And I saw the name it was addressed to, and I think it's the previous tenant who lived here. I have no way of contacting him, so thank you for the free shorts. They're in my size too, so I'm like, huh, that's interesting. And I thought it was kind of funny because I realized that the previous tenant's last name is Beck, which is the romantic interest's last name in my book. So I'm like, ooh, is this a little meet cute? A little accidental short delivery meet cute? And like he'll come over and pick them up, and we'll meet that way. But I think he's engaged anyway. And also these are size small, so anyway, I feel like this was a really short update, but that's okay. I'm going to take a break because if I don't, I'm not going to want to read any more of this later, and I still have a lot more to go. Well, half, but it is Monday, so technically I have 2 days left to complete this challenge, but Libby says I have 3 days left. So we might end up bending time a little bit. I'm going to maybe do another quick little workout and then have some of my pre-made, hey, what's up? Pre-made dinner. And I have an astrology course on horary that I need to listen to. So I might do that and just keep on reading. How's this look on the camera? Is it good? I don't know why I'm doing this accent. It's because I'm reading historian, and historian, they talk like this all the time, so it's stuck in my head. Hi. What's up? I just had my dinner and I had a really nice afternoon. I decided that I did not want to just sit at home and read because I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm ready to be done with the historian, but I'll get into that in a second. But so I figured, well, I love to take long walks, so I'm gonna do that. And I went to a local coffee shop that I love, and I got a matcha latte. Then I walked over to my library, and so I have also, not this one I am in the middle of. I have a miniature book haul here that I will also get into. Actually, let's start with that. Why did no one tell me, or why did I not know that Tom Hanks writes fiction? I had no idea. The making of another major motion picture masterpiece. When I saw this, I was like, oh cool, a biography. Because, you know, he's Tom Hanks. He has enough life experience to write 12 biographies. This is, I mean, it's in the title, you know, I'm assuming it's a fictional story about a man or woman or whoever making a major motion picture. And who better to write a story about that than Tom Hanks, the darling of Hollywood. I love him so much. I met him a while ago and he was everything that you think that he would be. He was so nice, so charismatic. And he hasn't done anything yet to screw up his image, so, oh, that's so cool. And there's even some comics in this. That's really cool. So really excited about this one. I also picked up, kind of on a whim, the 10,000 Doors of January. It just sounded really intriguing. So we'll see what I think of this one. And lastly, because even though I'm not exactly enjoying the historian at this point, I still love Dracula. So I picked up Dracul by Bram Stoker, or no, sorry, not Bram Stoker, Dacre Stoker, and J.D. Barker. Now what's interesting is that this book is very well reviewed on Goodreads. However, the other book that Dacre Stoker wrote, which is this official sequel to Dracula, has horrible reviews. I have that one too, it's downstairs, which I'll probably read at some point because I'll read anything to do with Dracula. This, I think, is the prequel, so I guess J.D. Barker added a lot of good insight into whatever story this is, but I'm really excited to read it. This was only available in massive print, so I'm probably gonna fly through this one. As for the historian, I'm 85% of the way through. I'm on page 582, chapter 70. Less than 100 pages left, and I'm just so bored at this point. I just want this to be done. And unless something happens in the next less than 100 pages, this is getting, I don't even want to like speculate on the star rating right now, but this is not what I thought it would be, and that's really disappointing to me because I've heard so many good things about this book. And again, anything to do with Dracula or vampires, I am in. Of course, I still have, where did I put it? And then once this is done, as we know, I still have the Night Circus, and tomorrow is technically the end of the week. I still have the entire day. So we'll see how much of this, if I finish this tonight, I can get through of this tomorrow. I think I'm going to take a bath, maybe have a glass of wine, and have a night. Hello, it is a few hours later, and I have finished The Historian. All I want to say is chapter 73 is all that I wanted out of this. So at least I can say that it happened once. I am so conflicted. It's also 1:05 in the morning, so I'm a little tired right now, but I think I'm so conflicted because I really wanted to like this and I didn't. I liked aspects of it. I liked the tone. I liked Elizabeth Kostova. I think I'm saying that correctly now. I like her writing style. I feel bad even critiquing this because there's a little section in the back that has an interview with her, and apparently this was 10 years worth of research that she conducted in order to write this. And my book took a year to write, and I know how arduous it is to put in so much of your time into writing something that you believe in and are passionate about, and then have people say bad things about it or they don't like it or whatever. And I can only imagine, this is 10 years worth of work, and then here I am sitting in my bedroom and I'm like, I didn't really like it. But hopefully, people write books because they want to, and they don't really think about what the critics are going to say, because I'm sorry, I didn't really care for this that much. And the reasons for that, I think, are because this just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to have, Dracula in it. I thought this was going to be about vampires, or, a vampire. I guess by the end I understood who the historian was, but really it should be titled The Historians because there's multiple of them. I don't know if she is insinuating that Dracula is the historian, or if it's this other guy, or this other guy, or this other woman, or this girl. I don't know. There's so many historians. There was a part towards the end, this one sentence that one of the historian's daughter says that she is, where is it? Oh, there it is. Like my father's letters, they broke off without giving me much understanding of the present. Same, because this is one of those stories that tries to weave a bunch of timelines and storylines together, and I just found myself being very confused by the end. I thought for a second this was going to do a Stephen King, which, if you've read Stephen King's books, basically it's like the dial is slowly turning, and then all of a sudden at the end it goes into overdrive. Holy shit, everything's coming together, and he maintains that. So, but this one was kind of like, Dracula is only in this novel twice, as far as I remember, and that's just not what I personally want in a vampire novel. I want vampires. I want more of that. It makes sense on another level why this is called The Historian, because this basically 90% of it, maybe even more, is just documenting things that have already happened. And for me personally, I don't want to read about things that have already happened. I want to read about the present. I want to read the present in the story, like the action part of it. I don't want to read 650 pages worth of what has already happened. Literally, we're only in the present for a very small portion of this book. So if you like history, and if you like reading about history, the past, then you'll probably love this. And if you're not expecting to have a whole lot of gothic horror and virtually no vampires, then, I think you'll like it. And I feel like I'm probably in the minority with this book because it seems like a lot of people love it. I'm just not one of them. I don't think it's a good look that I was bored basically the entire time I was reading this. In the very beginning, they say that, oh, Dracula is alive and well. The first time I read that, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so interesting. We're going to get to have a modern day Dracula and hear more about that. And we just don't. It's all about, not that. I have a feeling maybe in a few years' time, I will look back on this book and I'll be like, oh yeah, you know, I didn't really like that at the time, but maybe I'll love it now. But for now, we are done with that. I have sent back my Libby copy to the book gods. Last thing I'll say, it's kind of a bit of a spoiler, so if you don't want to hear a spoiler on this book, then I will show you where you can skip ahead. You mean to tell me that Dracula has been alive for centuries, and then one bullet takes him out in a very quick scene? Really? I mean, I'm sorry, if you've been alive for hundreds of years, you basically know how to get out of any situation in which your life might be in danger. Any situation. He just wasn't aware that somebody was behind him with a gun. Like, there's no way. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. But even then, I'm like confused because the epilogue was also confusing, because I don't know if it was the present or the past. I think it was the past, but it was like, oh, Dracula this, Dracula's doing this. And I'm like, okay, is he alive then? Like, what's going on? Because I know in the original Dracula by Bram Stoker, it's kind of ambiguous as to whether or not Dracula's alive. Anyway, I don't know. I've talked way too much about this. Bela Lugosi supremacy forever. And now we're on to the final book, The Night Circus. I might read some of this tonight. I don't know, I'm pretty tired and I'm hungry. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention my rating. Somehow I'm tired. I would give this a 3-star. Yeah, that feels right. Hello, it is August 17th at 11:58 a.m. I have a confession to make. So when the last day of this week-long challenge came along, I didn't really have a very good day. I didn't feel good. After binging over 1,000 pages, I was like, I don't really want to read right now, and I just need a day to just chill. I did manage to read 100 pages of The Night Circus, but then I just kind of let myself enjoy this for the rest of that week. So technically, I have failed the challenge. However, I finished The Night Circus a few days ago and I enjoyed it. I thought parts of it were very magical and whimsical. I know that this is a lot of people's favorite book of all time, and I can definitely see why. It is an escape. It's like nothing I've ever read before. For those of you who don't know, The Night Circus is about a circus that just shows up randomly at night. It also has a central plot point of the main character Celia and her love interest Marco. They are in this competition with one another that they didn't really know they were in until later in the book, because they were set up by their trainers, I guess. And so it's kind of about that rivalry, but they end up falling in love and all these different things. So I enjoyed it very much. I will say, however, that this was a little disappointing to me, and I want to tread carefully because I know so many people love this book, but I felt that it was written a little simplistically. I thought that a world like this should have been fleshed out more. Like, I wanted Erin Morgenstern to really show us this world through more description, and I wanted to see it better, and the way that it's written just didn't really do that. Like, for example, they are dinner parties like any other, though the ambiance and the late hour makes them something else, something unusual and curious. Well, I want to know, like, what makes these dinners unusual? What makes it curious? Like, what does the ambiance look like? It is described some, but I don't know, I wanted more. I do understand that things can be told simplistically and be very rich within that, but I really think you have to you really need to know what you're doing in order to do that in a skilled way. I think Erin Morgenstern is a great writer, and I really did enjoy her writing style. There was something about it that I didn't like as much, and I really wanted to. I gave this a 4-star on Goodreads, and the main reason for that was because of some things that are said in the last chapter. For example, is magic not enough to live for? Widget asks. Magic, the man in the gray suit repeats, turning the word into a laugh. This is not magic. This is the way the world is. Only very few people take the time to stop and note it. Look around you, he says, waving a hand at the surrounding tables. Not a one of them even has an inkling of the things that are possible in this world, and what's worse is that none of them would listen if you attempted to enlighten them. They want to believe that magic is nothing but clever deception, because to think it real would keep them up at night, afraid of their own existence. And then there's also another passage. Someone needs to tell those tales. When the battles are fought and won and lost, when the pirates find their treasures and the dragons eat their foes for breakfast with a nice cup of lapsang souchong, someone needs to tell their bits of overlapping narrative. There's magic in that. It's in the listener, and for each and every ear it will be different, and it will affect them in ways they can never predict. From the mundane to the profound, you may tell a tale that takes up residence in someone's soul, becomes their blood and self and purpose. That tale will move them and drive them, and who knows what they might do because of it, because of your words. Those two quotes really tied the book nicely together for me, because I was wondering, is this circus a metaphor for something? And it turns out that it kind of is. It's a way of saying that this world that we live in is so magical, but people don't tend to notice it. This book has themes of saying anything is possible. I'm going to keep this one because I think I want to reread it in a few years' time and see if maybe I connect with it more at that point. So the goal was to read 2,068 pages. I read these two in their entirety, The Terror and the Historian, and 100 pages of the Night Circus in a week. So that totaled to 1,542, which I still think is pretty damn good. So that just left me with 526 pages not read, but I did finish this within the week. So overall, did I read all 2,068 pages in 7 days? No. But I got pretty close and I had a fun time while doing it. But yeah, I'm gonna end the vlog here. Thank you for being patient with me as I continue to find my style on here and how to talk about books and how to make it interesting and fun and all that stuff. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know down below what you are reading, if you've read any of these 3 books, and I will see you in the next video.